Mangwanani malelepo fukenjani kleklas vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show that's bringing you everything you need to know on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Mberi. Today we will be joined as well by Talent Gore, who is in Harare, Zimbabwe, to give us developments from that country, including the new constitutional amendment bill which has been passed by the lower house of parliament, as well as the government's fuel reduction with regards to developments in the Strait of Hormuz. And ultimately, when we're talking about the Zimbabwe situation, it's hard to ignore Talent's last story, which is Zimbabwe mobilizing support for nationals who are returning from South Africa, given the current climate over there. So this is Africa Good Morning on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, 1up2.com, Network Media Hub, and NTVAFRIKA.MY.NA. Top stories shortly.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises, from artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative sport tourism.
Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has emerged as the clear victor in the country's general election after his Prosperity Party retained its overwhelming parliamentary majority, despite a poll overshadowed by conflict, allegations of repression, and limited opposition participation. The party won 438 of the 501 contested seats and will form the next government, with Abiy expected to be sworn in for another term at the beginning of October. Supporters view the result as an endorsement of the economic progress achieved under his leadership. Critics, however, fear Ethiopia's internal divisions and security challenges could worsen. Abiy came to power in 2018 during anti-government protests and was initially praised for efforts to bridge national divisions, although leaders in Tigray opposed his rise. He received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2019, largely for ending hostilities with Eritrea. Armed insurgencies in Amhara and Oromia continue, while Tigray was excluded from voting amid fears of renewed conflict. Analysts warn tensions involving Tigrayan leaders Eritrea and Addis Ababa risk escalating into wider instability. International concern has prompted calls for de-escalation as well as sanctions. Now, Reuters correspondents Emmanuel Bruce and Robbie Corey Boulay report that lawmakers from more than a dozen African countries have pledged to pursue new legislation restricting LGBTQ rights following a conference in Ghana that assembled self-described pro-family activists from Africa and Europe. The Africa Interparliamentary Conference on Family Values and Sovereignty was held in Accra from June 3 to 6, a week after Ghana's parliament approved a bill criminalizing LGBT promotion. Participants described the gathering as part of a broader shift towards more restrictive laws targeting LGBT people in parts of Africa. Encouraged by conservative figures in the United States and Europe, and gaining momentum since Donald Trump returned to the White House. Ghana Parliament Speaker Albana Bagbin urged delegates to convert conference resolutions into active bills, budgetary allocations, and oversight mechanisms. Organizers said representatives from 20 countries attended, while lawmakers from 18 approved an African Charter on family sovereignty as well as values. Now, Ola Milekan Okebiorin reports that the Democratic Republic of Congo has stepped up efforts to recover millions of colonial-era geological maps and records held in Belgium as it seeks greater control over information identifying deposits of copper, cobalt, and other strategic minerals. Congolese Mines Minister Louis Watum Kabamba recently met Belgian and European officials to discuss the digitization and transfer of records stored at the Royal Museum for Central Africa near Brussels. The archive contains maps, field reports, aerial photographs, rock samples, and documents compiled during Belgian colonial rule between 1885 and 1960. Congolese authorities say the records could accelerate the discovery of new mineral deposits and strengthen geoscientific sovereignty. Officials agreed to develop a joint roadmap for digitization and restitution and establish a task force to oversee implementation. The initiative coincides with Kinshasa's tighter control over mineral exports, including cobalt restrictions introduced after an export suspension in 2025. Cobalt Metals, a United States exploration company backed by investors, including Bill Gates, signed an agreement with DR Congo to assist with digitization, but has not secured access to the Belgian collection. Now, Chinedu Okofor reports that Guinea has imposed a ban on the export of unrefined gold in a move aimed at promoting local processing and increasing value addition within the country. President General Mamadi Doumbouya announced the measure after meeting industrial and artisanal gold producers and traders operating in Guinea. He said the country possesses the second largest gold reserves in West Africa, yet large quantities leave its borders daily in raw form to be processed, certified, and sold elsewhere. Under the new policy, gold must be refined into ingots at a facility in the capital Conakry before export to international markets. Doumbouya warned that operators who continue exporting raw gold will face license suspensions and termination of mining contracts. Guinea's gold sector includes 2 semi-industrial companies, hundreds of artisanal miners and firms such as Société Aurifère de Guinée, a subsidiary of Anglo Gold Ashanti. Now, in a very, very sweet story, a 12-year-old Marcos Abaye has attracted widespread attention after taking his sick chicken to hospital in Ethiopia's Amhara region, believing medical staff could help save the bird. Marcos, who grew up in rural Ethiopia and developed a strong affection for animals, became distressed when his chicken failed to recover from home treatments, writes BBC Amharic's Fire Hiwot Kasa and BBC Africa's Michael Tafari. Encouraged by his uncle and guardian, Kelem Walk Amgone, he carried the hen to Denbecha Primary Hospital, unaware that veterinary services were available nearby. Nurse Uma Chane recorded the encounter and posted it on TikTok, where it received 770,000 views. It's much more by now. In the video, Marcos explains that the chicken is wheezing, while Ume gently advises him to seek assistance from an animal doctor. The bird was subsequently treated by a veterinarian and recovered. Marcos later said he planned to give the chicken 12 eggs he had saved so it could hatch them. His uncle revealed the chicken was a gift from Marcos's grandparents when he moved in with him in 2023 after conflict erupted in Amhara. A poultry company has since offered Marcos 100 chicken as well as poultry farming training. Talk about a heartwarming story. Indeed. Those have been the top stories on Africa Good Morning. Talent Gore joins us on the other side as she is in Harare, Zimbabwe, ready to deliver the Zimbabwe report.
weekday evening for the Evening Review as we unpack the issues shaping Namibia. From politics and economics to culture and community life, our team delivers sharp analysis, expert insights and conversations with Namibians across society. It's not just the headlines, it's the full picture. Stay informed and engaged with the Evening Review.
AITSA is 'n echt Namibiese inisiatief. Ons reis op die hartklop van Afrika en vertel stories van mense en hulle dorpe op verskeie platforms insluitende televisie en sosiale media. Dit is joune, syne, julle en ook almal van hulle aan die ander kant van ons grense sinne. En dit maak AITSA 'n lekker ding. Kyk AITSA maande om 18:30 op NTV.AFRIKA.MY.NA as ook op Netwerk Media Hub en NTV Afrikaans se YouTube kanale. Volg ons op Facebook of besoek ons webwerf by AITSAFRIKA.COM.
All right, it's time for Talent Gore to deliver the Zimbabwe report. We start off in economics, Talent, as fuel prices have dipped below $2, and this is after the Iran ceasefire as well as increased blending.
Africa, good morning. Motorists have received fresh relief after the Zimbabwe Energy Regulatory Authority announced lower fuel prices for the next 2 weeks, reflecting easing global oil prices following the end of the Iran conflict. Under the latest review, effective June 19, diesel now costs $1.99 per litre, down from $2.09, whilst petrol blend, which is E20, has been reduced to $1.98, down from $2.08. In local currency, diesel is pegged at 53.26 ZiG per litre, and petrol blend is at 53 ZiG per litre. The reduction marks the latest decline since fuel prices surged in March as the Iran-Israel-United States conflict disrupted global oil supplies and drove up import costs. At the peak of the crisis in March, ZERA, which is the Zimbabwe Energy Regulatory Authority, raised diesel prices to $2.05 per litre and petrol to $2.17 per litre, citing international market pressures linked to the Middle East conflict. Since then, fuel prices have steadily retreated as geopolitical tensions eased and crude oil prices softened. In April, diesel was reduced to $2.09 per litre, while petrol fell to $2.08 per litre, and government said that it had sought to contain fuel costs by increasing the ethanol blending ratio from E5 to E20, a move authorities said reduced petrol prices by about 18 cents per litre. The higher blending ratio was introduced as part of a package of measures to shield consumers from the impact of global energy market volatility.
All right, Talent, as we move to the most discussed subject in Zimbabwe, the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3, which seems to have cleared the National Assembly.
Now, in my other story, the Constitution of Zimbabwe Amendment Bill number 3 has sailed through the National Assembly, moving a step closer to becoming law after securing the constitutionally required 2/3 majority in Parliament. The bill passed comfortably on Thursday last week, with 216 legislators voting in favor of the proposed constitutional changes, while 42 voted against. Announcing the results, Speaker of Parliament Jacob Mudenda said the bill had met the threshold required under the Constitution. He said that the confirmed results of count, therefore, is that 216 honourable members of Parliament have voted in favour and 42 had voted against the bill. The number of the affirmative votes is not less than the 2/3 of the membership of the House, which is 187 out of the total membership of the House, which is 280 members. He said, I therefore declare the final votes in the House on the Constitution of Zimbabwe Amendment Bill number 3 to have been in accordance with the provision of Section 2328 subsection 5 of the Constitution. The bill now proceeds to the Senate, where it must also secure a 2/3 majority before it can be presented to President Emmerson Mnangagwa for assent. Its passage in the National Assembly follows weeks of debate, with legislators sharply divided over several of its provisions. Among the most controversial proposals are measures that would extend the terms of the office of president, members of parliament, and local authorities beyond 2028, when their current mandates are due to expire. Proposed amendments seeking to abolish the Zimbabwe Gender Commission, alter provisions relating to traditional chiefs, and amend clauses concerning the defense forces were ultimately dropped. According to Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Ziyambi, a record 182 MP participated in debate on the bill, with 139 expressing support either outright or with reservation. The bill has generated intense public and political debate, with supporters arguing it addresses governance challenges, while critics say it weakens democratic accountability and constitutional safeguards. So as of now, the bill is now going to Senate, where it will also go through the same process that it went through whilst in Parliament. It is going to be debated in Parliament, and if 2/3 of the members of Parliament vote for in favor of the bill, it will then pass and it will go to President Emmerson Mnangagwa for assent. And if like what happened in National.
All right, Talent. Now, in the last of your stories, given the current xenophobic / Afrophobic climate in South Africa, we understand that Zimbabwe is mobilizing support for nationals returning from Mzansi.
Now, in my other story, the Zimbabwean government has stepped up efforts to repatriate citizens affected by xenophobic attacks on foreign nationals in South Africa, mobilizing resources and seeking support from humanitarian and private sector partners. In a statement on Sunday, the Minister of Local Government and Public Works said it was coordinating the repatriation exercise through the Department of Civil Protection in collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade. The coordinated support efforts by the Ministries of Local Government and Public Works and Foreign Affairs and International Trade are focused on facilitating the safe and dignified return of affected citizens back home. Authorities said assistance being mobilized include food, temporary shelter, and transport from South Africa to designated reception centers in Zimbabwe. And the government said that it had activated the emergency fund to support the operation and is engaging humanitarian organizations, development partners, non-governmental organizations, church groups, and the private sector to strengthen the response. Just last week, about 700 Zimbabweans were repatriated from South Africa to Zimbabwe, and right now we're not really sure if they have been sent to their respective family homes, but as of last week, they were still at the shelters that are being provided by the government, and the government is trying to reintegrate those people back into the society. So right now, the government is also mobilizing more funds for more Zimbabweans who want to come back to Zimbabwe to be facilitated for transport and for food and also for shelter. Most of them, they live far away, so they would need transport money, and also they would need to be reintegrated back into society. Some of them left Zimbabwe many years ago, and they need to be reintegrated back into the Zimbabwean society. So the government right now is mobilizing funds, and it is working with the Ministry of Local Government and Public Works is working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and they're also working with developmental partners, private sector partners, non-governmental organizations, etc., to make sure that they mobilize enough funds and they also reintegrate those people back into society.
All right, many thanks to you, Talent, for delivering the Zimbabwe report. And that's it from us on Africa Good Morning. Tomorrow, we will be joined by Rorisang Mohojwe, as she says, Dumela, from Gaborone, Botswana, delivering the Botswana report. But as always, you can find us on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, 1up2.com, and NTV Africa, spelled with a K, Afrika.MY.NA. My name is Ashwin Berry. We now leave you with economic indicators. Swera Jakanaka.